In 2010, when asked about the competition and their much bigger smartphones compared to the iPhone, Steve Jobs famously said, "No one would want to buy a phone with a big screen. You can't get your hand around it, and no one's going to buy that." He believed phones should match the ergonomics of your hand, and he was mocking their competitors for trying to make much bigger phones with a bigger display. He described their iPhone 4 model with a 3.5-inch screen as the perfect size for consumers. But fast forward to 2020, when almost every other smartphone manufacturer on the market is pushing for that 7-inch display sizes, including Apple. So, are smartphones really getting too big? Or is this today the perfect size? Hi guys, this is Smartphone Everything, and today we are going to talk about the present day smartphone sizes and how they changed over the years. When Apple announced in 2014 that their new models iPhone 6 and 6 Plus are going to be sized at 4.7-inch and 5.5-inch respectively, in some way it was an end of an era. Because even back then in 2014, Apple was technically the only big smartphone company on the market that was still holding on their 4-inch screen size on all their models. When you look at the competition on the smartphone market that same year, companies were already producing 5-inch screen devices and pushing for 6-inch screen displays. To this day, the iPhone 5S remains the last true flagship phone to be made with that compact/small 4-inch screen. I personally still miss that 4-inch display sometimes, because there was just something about it being super easy to use one-handed and simply put it in the pocket. iPhone 5S still remains to this day one of the favorite phones I ever owned, if not favorite. Of course not just because of the size, but the size too was a major factor why I still miss that kind of device in 2020. When you compare the iPhone 5S to my current phone, the Samsung Galaxy Note 10 Plus, you can really see how far we came with today's smartphones and their sizes. Don't get me wrong, I've been using this phone for some time now, and because everything is a matter of habit, I honestly wouldn't complain if my next device will even be sized over 7 inches. Watching content, doing some work, editing videos, playing games, and everything else is a much better experience on this kind of device. Almost no bezels with only a punch-hole selfie camera, 91% screen-to-body ratio. I mean, what's there not to like? But here we enter the how big is too big territory. Let's take the 6.8-inch Galaxy Note 10 Plus for example. Although this is a phone for a two-handed use, I personally don't have any problem with it. However, I know some people who simply wouldn't even consider buying this device simply because of its size. I know, Samsung made a standard 6.3-inch Galaxy Note 10, but that phone is lacking some of the bigger Galaxy 10 Plus features. So let's say, if you want the latest and greatest smartphone from Samsung, you would probably go for the Galaxy Note 10 Plus or the Galaxy S20 Ultra, and both of them are almost 7-inch devices. You can get the smaller S20 or the standard Note 10, but you will be cut out for some of the features and specs. Now I'm not going to get into all that if those features would mean anything to you, or if you really need to buy the more expensive S20 Ultra for example. But what I wanna say is, take Samsung for example. If you want the best device the money can buy right now, you will have to go for the 6.8-inch or the 6.9-inch devices. And that's it. But what if you want the full-spec flagship device like the Galaxy S20 Ultra with those same specs, camera and everything else, but in a smaller size device? Well, sorry, go and buy the Galaxy S20 Ultra. And using this as a pattern, that's how the manufacturers force people to buy bigger and bigger devices every year. Because if you want the best there are no other options in size. Apple is still one of the companies that's trying to keep their smaller phones relevant. If you want something smaller than the 6.5-inch iPhone 11 Pro Max, but still want it to be top of the line smartphone from Apple, well then you can get a normal iPhone 11 Pro sized at 5.8 inches, with the same specs, software and hardware, minus the battery size difference obviously. So when you look at the smartphone market today, we can say, simply put, bigger is better. Almost always better specs, better screen, better camera and everything else. I've seen a lot of polls and questions throughout the years on the internet about what's the perfect size for a smartphone. And of course, people are different and everyone has their own preferred size, but most people usually agree that the 4.7-inch device is some kind of a golden middle. In more recent times, 5.8-inch size is often mentioned as the one to get. Good for one-hand use, big enough for most of the tasks you do on your phone and easy to put in your pocket. But let's say you want to buy something under 6-inch size in 2020. What are your options? And I'm not talking about the flagship models, but in general. As we mentioned, iPhone 11 Pro, Google Pixel 4, last year's Samsung Galaxy S10e or Pixel 3a, Moto G7 Play, Nokia 2.2, and basically, that's it for the under 6-inch category. Just to make it clear, If you want something sized under 5-inch in 2020, technically your only option is the new iPhone SE at 4.7 inches. Other than that, there's really nothing else worth mentioning. Although the devices are getting bigger and bigger, to be perfectly honest, we have to mention that most of today's phones are practically all screen devices without any bezels or notches. Almost all manufacturers are using a pop-up selfie camera or a punch hole design. And as we are approaching 2021, there are already leaks and rumors about some of the companies trying to implement the under-screen selfie camera in their phones for the next year's models. It's weird to say it, but 6-inch or under 6-inch smartphones are becoming a thing of past, and it looks like almost all major smartphone companies will shift their focus away from making that type of smaller devices in the next year or two. Most of the manufacturers are already pushing closer to the 7-inch smartphones in 2020, and I think that next year we will actually see a couple of flagship models being sized at 7-inch or bigger. For a few years now, we are seeing a constant upgrade in size with the new models every year, but the real question is, when can we say that it's too much and it's time to stop? After all, today's flagship models are entering what was a tablet territory just a few years ago. 8-inch, 9-inch, maybe now when the new 7-inch models come out people will maybe say, this is okay, we don't need to go any larger and we reach the peak point of the smartphone sizes. I mean, who knows? Nobody knows what the future holds, and it will be as exciting as ever to see the new models coming through for the rest of 2020 and 2021. As for people who prefer smaller phones, unfortunately, I think that their options are going to be more limited than ever. But kudos to Apple because all the leaks about the iPhone 12 models are suggesting that they will have 4 new models sized from 5.4 inches to the 6.7 inches. And how it currently looks, Apple will probably stay the only relevant company producing flagship models under 6 inches, and to even have something to offer under 5 inches with their SE model. So, what do you think? Do you think that maybe one day the smaller 4-inch or 5-inch phones will become a thing again? To be honest, I think that would be really interesting to see. And do you miss the 4-inch sized era of smartphones from the past like I do? Or do you absolutely hate that era and you're hoping that the phones will become even bigger than today in the next few years? Tell us in the comments, I'm really interested to hear you out. Thank you for watching guys, I make daily smartphone videos, from stories, leaks, rumors to reviews. If you like my content, feel free to like and subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it. Peace!